When the room falls silent, it's not always peaceful. Sometimes that silence is heavier than thunder, because deep down people know they've crossed a line with you. Have you ever noticed the whispers, the nervous glances, the quick cover-ups when you walk into a space? They may not admit it out loud, but behind closed doors they replay that moment with you like a crime scene in their mind. They know they mishandled something sacred. They know they treated you casually, and now the weight of that mistake follows them everywhere. Being near you is not ordinary. It's not casual access. It comes with a cost. It carries responsibility. And when people treat it lightly, when they mishandle your presence, the universe has a way of writing the receipt. Some people thought your silence meant safety, that walking away without apology erased what they did. But you and I both know there's always fallout. Always. The air around you shifts, and even your enemies feel it. The ones who laughed the loudest before, notice how quiet they are now. And let me pause right here, chosen one, to say this: I see you. I appreciate you. If you're here listening, it's because you've chosen to walk this path with strength, even when it gets heavy. Thank you for being part of this mission. What we're building together is not just one voice. It's a shield, it's a weapon, and it's a reminder that none of us walk alone. So if you haven't already, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and step deeper into this community, because together we're shifting the atmosphere. Now, listen carefully. The shift has already happened. You are no longer who they thought you were. You've stepped into a space where your very presence exposes what is real and what is fake. Have you noticed it? Their faces tighten when you walk in. Their voices change when they speak to you. Their energy betrays them, even when their words try to cover it up. Why? Because you've become the mirror they cannot escape. Without saying a single word, your presence shows them their own weakness, their own envy, their own hidden motives. That's why being in your presence is not a right. It is a privilege, a costly, heavy privilege. And those who mishandle it are already discovering the truth. The universe does not let it go unbalanced. So from this moment forward, chosen one, understand this: you are not to be mishandled. Not anymore. Your presence has weight. It has consequences. And it is time for you to recognize the shift that has already begun. The moment you step into a room, something shifts. People feel it before you even open your mouth. The air grows heavier, chests tighten, fake confidence begins to crack. They might try to play it off with a smile or with words, but their bodies tell the truth before their mouths can form the lie. That's not your imagination. That's the aftershock of your presence. You are the shockwave, chosen one. You don't echo the energy of others. You are the source, the origin point. Think about it. Have you noticed how conversations suddenly stop when you walk in? How do people who were loud a moment ago become cautious with their words, lower their tone, even shift their posture? That's because your silence speaks louder than their noise ever could. Your very existence is like a mirror that reveals what they've been trying to hide. Without you saying a single word, their masks start slipping. Their insecurities, their unhealed wounds, their envy, it all surfaces in your presence. And who do they blame for that exposure? You. Always you. But here's the truth. They don't hate you because you did something wrong. They hate you because you remind them of what they are not. You force them to face their own fragility, and that terrifies them. You are like standing too close to a fire. Some will feel the warmth and grow from it, while others will get burned because they refuse to respect the flame. Many have already been burned by mishandling you. Opportunities slipping through their fingers, relationships falling apart, restless nights replaying how they treated you. This is not revenge. This is balance. This is what happens when rare energy is treated like it's ordinary. Now, pause and ask yourself this: why do some people instantly become irritated by you, even when you've said nothing? Why does their face twist, their voice sharpen the second you arrive? It's not because you're doing anything wrong. It's because your presence exposes the truth they've been hiding from themselves. You are the uninvited audit of their soul, and every time you show up, their lies lose value. That's why your presence is a shockwave, It reorganizes the room, forces the atmosphere to realign, and leaves an imprint they cannot ignore. So, Chosen One, understand this. Your presence is not background noise. It is the main frequency. It cannot be silenced, it cannot be overlooked, and those who mishandle it will always pay the cost. Because being around you is not free, it's a test, and most people fail it. They thought you were finished. They thought the storms that hit your life would bury you for good. Yet here you are, still standing, still shining, still unshakable. Chosen One, your very existence is proof that real power cannot be faked. You are the living receipt of what cannot be broken. See, the world teaches people to believe that power comes from money, titles, connections, or popularity. But the truth you carry dismantles that illusion. You didn't rise because of who you knew or what you owned. You rose because you endured what most people could never survive. You were forged in fire, sharpened in pain, refined through storms. And now you stand as undeniable evidence that authentic power is built, not borrowed. Think about this image. A house built on sand can stand tall for a season until the storm comes. The moment the wind blows and the rain falls, everything collapses in seconds. Those were your enemies. They looked strong when no pressure tested them, but when real trials arrived, their foundation gave way. Meanwhile, you were the house built on stone. Storms didn't destroy you. They made you stronger. Every attack, every betrayal, every loss, what should have crushed you became your crown. And this is why people look uneasy when they're around you. Some are inspired, drawn to the strength you radiate. Others feel exposed because standing next to you reminds them of the shortcuts they took, the masks they wear, and the lies they built their identity on. Your scars are evidence, your silence is testimony, and your survival is a sermon that preaches louder than words ever could. Let me ask you, have you noticed how some people copy your style, your words, even your ideas, yet it never feels the same? That's because they can mimic the shell, but they cannot duplicate the core. They can rehearse the performance, but they cannot embody the presence. You are the diamond that survived the pressure, while they are the glass that shatters at the slightest blow. Chosen One, never downplay this truth. Your survival is your crown. You are the contradiction this world cannot explain, scarred yet shining, tested yet thriving, underestimated yet undefeated. That is why your presence is dangerous to lies. Not because you raise your voice, not because you play their games, but because your very existence proves that power cannot be faked. So remember this, you weren't just built differently, you were sent differently, and nothing they do can erase the evidence you carry. Chosen One, let's get something clear. Access to you was never a right. It was never casual. It was never something to be taken for granted. Being close to you has always been permission and assignment, something the universe carefully allowed. And when people mishandled that privilege, they weren't just losing you, they were losing the blessing, the clarity, the protection that your presence carried. Haven't you noticed this pattern? Some people showed up in your life not to love you, but to feed off your peace, your wisdom, your light. They didn't come to build, they came to drain. And when the light you carried got too bright, their shadows started screaming. They mocked you, they disrespected you, they played games only to regret it later. Why? Because they confused access with ownership. They thought they were entitled to you. But the truth is, your presence was never a prize for their ego. It was always a test of their character. And most people failed it. Think about it this way. Imagine holding a rare artifact in your hands. You could honor it, protect it, study it, or you could toss it aside like it's ordinary. Sadly, most people chose the second option with you. They treated what was sacred as casual, and now they're paying the price. That's why doors closed in their life. That's why confusion followed them. That's why peace slipped from their hands. Because losing access to you wasn't just losing a person. It was losing the mirror that forced them to face themselves. And here's the shift you don't chase anymore. You don't explain your worth. You don't beg people to recognize what the universe already stamped on you. You've learned that you are the standard. Your energy speaks louder than any defense you could give. The right people will see it instantly, and the wrong ones, they will lose you. And deep down, they know exactly what they lost. So, chosen one, don't mistake their silence for indifference. Behind closed doors, they know the moment they mishandled you, they fumbled something they'll never get back. Because access to you was never random. It was never a coincidence. It was divine permission, and once it's revoked, there is no going back. Chosen one, let me tell you something they'll never admit out loud. Your silence is power. Louder than their gossip, sharper than their lies, heavier than their so-called confidence. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to shout, brag, or compete. Because the weight of your energy does the talking long before your mouth ever opens. Think about it. Two people can walk into the same room. One comes in shouting their credentials, waving their titles, demanding attention. The other you walks in quietly, saying nothing, but the atmosphere bends around you. Who do they remember? It's not the one who made the most noise. It's the one whose presence rearranged the entire space without a single word. That's you. You are not noise, you are frequency. And frequency is unforgettable. That's why people stumble when you show up. The ones who were loud suddenly went quiet. The conversations that were flowing suddenly dry up. Nervous laughter fills the air. Eyes start to dart, shoulders, tense energy shifts. They don't understand it, but they feel it. It's not imagination, it's conviction. Your silence carries the kind of clarity that counterfeit power can't stand. You see, enemies rely on performance. They need the stage, the manipulation, the spotlight. They survive off illusions, but the second they stand near you, their mask slips, because authenticity always exposes counterfeit. And you, chosen one, are the embodiment of authenticity. That's why your silence feels like judgment to them, even though you haven't said a thing. They can't lie as easily when you're around. They can't hide as comfortably when you're near. And that terrifies them. Let me ask you, have you noticed how some people obsess over you, compete with you, or even copy you when you're not even trying? Why? Because they can sense that what you carry can't be duplicated. Your presence is not performance, it's alignment. It's true in its rawest form. And in a world addicted to noise, addicted to validation, addicted to being seen, your ability to stay silent, yet still dominate, the atmosphere feels like a threat. So don't ever think you're misunderstood because you're quiet. You're misunderstood because you carry a weight most people don't have language for. You don't chase the spotlight because you are the light. And that's why they better be careful. Because while they're bragging about power, you're breathing it. And your silence alone is enough to break everything false around you. Chosen one, let's clear something up once and for all. You are not intimidating. That word gets thrown at you because people don't know how else to describe what they feel when their masks start slipping in your presence. What they're really experiencing isn't intimidation, it's exposure. They're not used to someone who refuses to shrink, who won't water themselves down just to make fragile egos comfortable. So when they encounter you real, raw, unapologetic, you feel dangerous to them. But the danger isn't you. It's their own lies collapsing in real time. Picture this, a stage filled with actors, each clinging to their roles, costumes, and scripts. Then suddenly someone walks in without a script, without a mask, carrying only raw truth. Who looks out of place, the actors or the truth teller? That's you. You don't play roles. You don't morph into whatever the room expects. You show up as yourself, flaws, fire, silence, wisdom, all of it. And that authenticity slices through the noise like a sword. That's why your certainty unnerves them. Your alignment with truth feels like a spotlight shining directly on their pretense. They can't control you, and what people can't control they label as intimidating. But let's be honest, it's not that you're unpredictable, it's that they can't dictate your moves. And when they can't predict you, they panic. Let me ask you, why do people so often depend on being liked? Why do they bend, twist, and break themselves just for acceptance? It's because their entire identity is built on approval. But you don't need applause to breathe. You don't need validation to move. Your foundation isn't built on whether the crowd claps or boos, it's built on alignment with truth. And when someone who depends on external approval stands next to someone who doesn't, suddenly their whole foundation feels weak. That's why they call you intimidating. Chosen one, never wear that label as a burden. Wear it as confirmation, because what they really mean is this: I don't know how to handle someone who doesn't need my approval to exist. And that's exactly why they better be careful. You're not intimidating, you are simply certain. And certainty terrifies the insecure. Chosen one, there's something inside you that didn't start with you, and it will not end with you either. You carry a blueprint, a spiritual code that their bloodline could never unlock. For generations, people tried to force open doors, break chains, and win battles they were never able to overcome. But then you showed up, not with borrowed strength, not with imitated wisdom, but with the key already pulsing in your spirit. You are the evidence that destiny evolves, that cycles break, that chains end. Imagine a vault sealed shut for centuries, guarded by time and weight. Many tried to pry it open with force, but the lock never moved. Then you arrive, not with tools, not with tricks, but with the key already embedded in your bloodline. That is what you carry. This wisdom, this discernment, this light didn't come from textbooks or fake mentors. It came through inheritance, through scars, through isolation, through relentless growth. You are the living answer to battles your ancestors couldn't win. And that's why people react so strangely around you. On one hand, they stare in awe, sensing something ancient and powerful. On the other hand, they project jealousy, fear, and insecurity. Because when they see you, what they're really seeing is this. This is what I could have been if I had done the work. This is what I could have carried if I had chosen alignment. To some, you're not just a person. You are a reminder of what they failed to become. Have you ever noticed how your words shake people even when you're not trying? Why does your silence sometimes feel heavier than someone else's entire speech? It's because you don't just speak knowledge. You carry intelligence written into your very spirit. When you open your mouth, generations hear you. When you move, curses break. When you stand in your truth, the atmosphere testifies that cycles have ended with you. Chosen one, don't confuse their envy for strength. They're not threatened because you're better. They're threatened because you carry what their bloodline never could. You are the unlocked code. You are the blueprint. You are the proof that destiny does not repeat, it evolves. And that's why standing near you isn't casual. It's standing in front of everything they couldn't become. Chosen one, here is a truth you must never forget: mishandling you always comes with a price tag they cannot afford. Some people thought losing you was the punishment. No, losing you was the warning. Because being connected to you has never been casual. Every encounter with you is an appointment with weight, whether they recognize it or not. You are not just a friend, not just a voice, not just a kind soul. You are the assignment, and how they choose to handle that assignment shapes not only their relationship with you, but the very direction of their own life. Look back at your journey. The ones who honored you, who stood with you without agenda, who protected instead of exploited, you saw how their lives aligned. Doors opened for them, peace expanded, clarity flowed. But the others, the liars, the manipulators, the ones who disrespected you, they spiraled. They lost things they thought were untouchable. Their opportunities dried up. Their relationships crumbled. And it wasn't because you cursed them. It was because mishandling you is the same as mishandling the blessing the universe sent to elevate them. Let me paint this picture. Imagine someone being handed the keys to a priceless car. They could drive carefully and be taken further than they ever dreamed, or they could slam it into a wall through recklessness. Do they blame the car or their own actions? That's exactly what happens when people mishandle you. The wreckage in their lives isn't a coincidence, it's a consequence. Haven't you noticed? When people lose you, it's never just emotional, it's spiritual. Your absence feels heavier than anyone else's. Why? Because when you leave, peace leaves with you. Covering leaves with you. The mirror that once forced them to face themselves disappears, and now they're left alone with the chaos they tried to hide. That's why some turn bitter. That's why some lash out. Not because you wronged them, but because they can't fake their way past your discernment. Chosen one, your presence is either medicine or poison. It depends on how they handle the dose. For some, you are healing. For others, you are exposed. There is no middle ground, and that is why they better be careful. Mishandling you doesn't end with a simple apology. It echoes, it lingers, it rearranges their entire path. Because being near you has always been more than friendship. It has always been a test, and most people fail it. Chosen one. Let's set the record straight. You were never built to chase the spotlight. You are the fire that cannot be extinguished. Your glow is not staged, it's not borrowed, it's not a performance for applause. It's the evidence of survival. It's the light that was forged in the dark when no one was watching, when everything around you said you should have given up. And yet here you are, glowing with a brilliance that cannot be faked. People see the shine, but they don't see the storms that nearly buried you. They admire the glow, but they don't understand the battles you fought in silence. The betrayals, the nights when every voice said, quit, the days when you had to rebuild yourself from nothing. While others were desperate for attention, you were being refined. While they chased followers, you were being molded in the fire of alignment. That's why when you walk into a room today, people can't explain why they feel something shift. It's not hype, it's harmony. It's the presence of someone who has been through fire and came out purified instead of destroyed. Think about coal under pressure. Most of it crumbles into dust, but some become diamonds. That's you. You endured the weight, the pressure, the silence, the storms, and instead of breaking, you transformed. That's why people obsess over you. Some admire it, others envy it, but no one can replicate it. Because what you carry was not taught, it was birthed through survival. Let me ask you this. Have you noticed how your peace irritates some people? How does your calm presence make others restless? It's because you radiate from a place they cannot copy. They can imitate the style, mimic the surface, even steal the words, but they cannot embody the core. Your fire is not decoration, it is a revelation. It exposes what's fake while illuminating what's real. Chosen one, you don't shine to be seen. You shine because you survived. You shine because you healed. You shine because you are aligned. And that light cannot be dimmed no matter how many try to compete. So stop wondering why people scramble around you, why they feel threatened by your presence. It's simple, you are not chasing the light. You are the light. And that fire will never go out. Chosen one, let's talk about something many people misunderstand: your boundaries. They are not walls, they are warnings. You don't set boundaries to punish people. You set them because your spirit knows when something is off. You've reached a level where your boundaries are no longer just personal preferences, they are sacred. When you pull back, it's not because you're stubborn or because you want to prove a point. You pull back because something inside you registers the shift. The energy is dirty, the intentions are twisted, the access is being abused. And when that line is crossed, you don't argue, you don't debate, you don't explain. You step back quietly, powerfully, permanently. Because your spirit knows when enough is enough. Have you noticed how different your absence feels compared to anyone else's? When you walk away, it isn't just emotional, it's spiritual. The peace you carried, the clarity you brought, the covering you extended, it all leaves with you. Suddenly the chaos they once hid behind you echoes louder. The safety net they took for granted is gone. And they finally realize your boundaries weren't rejection, they were protection. Picture this. Someone abuses a safety net again and again, assuming it will always be there. Then one day the net is gone. The next fall is harder, sharper, and unforgettable. That's what your boundaries create. Not punishment, but reflection. Your silence becomes a mirror that forces people to face themselves without the comfort of your presence softening the blow. People who mishandled you thought they had unlimited access, like they could come and go as they pleased, drawing from your energy as if it were an endless faucet. But when you close the door, it's not cruelty, it's clarity. You're not being prideful, you're being purposeful. Because your boundaries are not brick walls, they are divine filters. And here's the truth, the ones who value you will respect your boundaries and grow stronger because of them. But the ones who thought they could cross them without consequence will learn the hardest way possible. Losing you isn't just losing a connection, it's losing grace they didn't even know was protecting them. That's why they better be careful. Your boundaries don't just protect you, they expose them. Chosen one, let me give you a revelation. Your presence doesn't just shift the room, it convicts the room. When you walk in, the atmosphere doesn't stay the same. Suddenly, what's been buried starts clawing its way back to the surface. Old shame, hidden jealousy, unresolved wounds, they can't keep it hidden anymore. You don't have to speak, you don't have to lift a finger. Your presence itself is the alarm clock they can't hit snooze on. Have you noticed how some people fidget when you enter? How conversations stumble, how laughter turns nervous, how their energy cracks? That's not random, that's exposure. You are like sunlight streaming into a dusty attic. For years, people shoved things into the dark corners of their souls, hoping no one would ever see it. But when your light enters, the dust starts dancing, the mess is undeniable, and they can no longer pretend it's clean. That's why they squirm. That's why they label you as too much, too intense, or hard to deal with. Labels are easier than mirrors. It's projection, not truth. And here's the thing, they don't actually hate you. They hate what comes out of them when they're around you. They hate the insecurities you expose, the lies you unravel, the patterns you make impossible to ignore. You don't stir up chaos, you reveal it. Your presence doesn't create their demons, it forces their demons out of hiding. Think about it. Some people open up deeply around you, sharing things they've never told anyone because your presence activates truth. Others shut down or run away because they're not ready to confront the reflection you reveal. And the ones who can't handle that mirror, they sabotage. They are ghosts. They twist the story. They call you arrogant or intimidating. Not because you hurt them, but because you dragged their hidden mess into the light without saying a word. So, chosen one, never take it personally. It was never really you they feared, it was the truth you carried. Your very existence unmasks what others have worked their whole lives to hide. That's why they better be careful. Because when you walk into a space, you don't just enter it, you expose it. Chosen one, here's the truth. They'll never confess they want your crown, but they could never survive your cross. People look at your glow, your strength, the peace you carry, and they envy it. They want the fruit on your tree, but they've never lived through the storms that nearly uprooted it. They want your wisdom, but not the betrayals that sharpened it. They want your compassion, but not the heartbreak that birthed it. They admire your shine, but they don't want the crushing pressure that created it. Think about this. When people see a polished diamond, they marvel at its beauty. But what they don't see are the years of unbearable weight and heat that forged it into something unbreakable. That's you. You didn't wake up one day glowing. You bled for it. You were crushed for it. You endured nights of silence, days of rejection, seasons where no one clapped for you and everyone doubted you. And still you rose. That is the price they don't want to pay. Have you noticed how some people admire you from a distance but resent you up close? It's because deep down they know your light wasn't handed to you. It was hammered out of you. They want the results without the refining. They want the crown without the cross. But what they can't stomach is this: you didn't just survive the storms, you thrived in them. You were reborn in them. Every scar on your body, every wound on your heart became the proof of your strength. Let me ask you, how many times did you feel like you were at your breaking point, only to find a deeper strength you didn't know you had? That's the fire that shaped you. That's the cross that forged your crown. And now when people stare at you, they're not just seeing the surface. They're seeing the resilience they could never endure. Chosen one, don't ever forget this. They want your crown, but they could not survive your cross. And that's why they better be careful. Because while they fantasize about copying your shine, they remain blind to the cost it took to create it. You are not the product of ease, you are the product of endurance. And every step you take is proof that true glory can only be birthed through fire. Chosen one, some people prayed for exactly what you carry. They cried out for loyalty, for truth, for a love that doesn't betray, for peace in the middle of chaos. They asked the universe, they begged heaven, send me something real. And when the answer showed up, it was you. Not loud, not flashy, not wrapped in fake perfection, but steady, pure, intentional. You were the very thing their soul was starving for. But here's the tragedy: when it finally arrived, they fumbled it. Why? Because they didn't really want sacred. They wanted convenience. They didn't really want responsibility. They wanted relief. They thought they were ready for truth. But when truth walked through the door in human form, their ego screamed. They doubted your love. They projected their insecurities. They tried to control what was sent to heal them. And in the process, they revealed they weren't aligned with the very thing they prayed for. It's like someone living through a drought crying for rain. Then the clouds break open and the storm pours down. Instead of collecting the water, they complain about the thunder. That's what they did with you. They wanted the blessing without the burden, the gift without the growth, the sacred without the sacrifice. And when they mishandled it, they didn't just lose you, they lost the answer to their own prayer. Have you noticed how some people treated you casually, only to come back later, realizing too late what they had? That's because when you left, the silence became deafening. You can't be replaced, not because of arrogance, but because you were assigned. And when an assignment is mishandled, it leaves a void no counterfeit can fill. Chosen one, this is why you must stand firm. You were not sent to be worshipped, you were sent to elevate. And elevation always demands responsibility. Those who could not honor the blessing when it stood in front of them will have to sit with the consequences of their neglect. The universe doesn't rescind what's already been wasted. So remember this: they asked for a blessing, and when the blessing arrived, they mishandled it. And that's why they better be careful. Because losing you was never just a loss. It was their answered prayer turning into silence. Chosen one, listen closely, their approval is useless. The universe already stamped you. For too long, people tried to make you doubt yourself. They laughed, they whispered, they dismissed you. They wanted you to second-guess your worth, to question your path, to shrink down so they could feel taller. But every single time they tried to tear you down, life itself rose up to prove them wrong. Doors opened, protection showed up, breakthroughs came right on time, not because you hustled for their approval, but because you aligned with truth. And alignment always brings confirmation. Think back. How many times did you sense a shift in your spirit, and then the exact thing unfolded in reality? How many times did you avoid disaster without even knowing what danger you escaped? That wasn't luck. That wasn't a chance. That was evidence. That was the universe co-signing you in real time. Meanwhile, the same people who mocked your silence had to sit there and watch life itself put a seal on your path. It's like a courtroom. The crowd boos, mocks, and points fingers, but then the judge slams the gavel and rules in your favor. Whose voice matters more, the crowd or the verdict? Chosen one, you already have the verdict. Their opinions are noise. The verdict is your alignment. That's why you don't move like them. They chase likes and applause while you chase truth. And truth doesn't need an audience to be valid. Others wake up asking, will people accept me? You wake up asking, am I aligned with what's real? And every time the proof keeps rolling in. They call it luck, but they never saw the nights you wrestled with yourself. They call it easy, but they never endured the battles that broke and rebuilt you. And here's the part: they can't stand your results don't come from being seen. They come from being sent. You didn't need their green light because you already had one that never fails. So let them doubt, let them mock, let them whisper behind closed doors. It changes nothing, because no amount of denial can overturn what has already been stamped by the universe. So chosen one, remember this, you don't need their claps, their nods, or their approval. The seal is already on you. And that's why they better be careful, because mocking you is mocking a verdict that has already been decided. Chosen one, let this sink in. Anyone who comes against you has already lost. The battle was decided before they even lifted a finger. Every scheme, every whisper, every trap they set, it collapses before it breathes. Why? Because you are not standing alone. You are covered. You walk with protection that human eyes can't see but enemies can't deny. Haven't you noticed? They tried to bury your name, but it only rose higher. They tried to slander your character, but the truth outlived their lies. They tried to wound you, but the harm never landed. That's not coincidence. That's proof. Proof that you are surrounded, guarded, shielded by a force greater than their hands could ever reach. Think about it like this. Imagine someone trying to fight a hurricane with a paper umbrella. That's what your enemies look like. Swinging wildly but powerless against the storm that surrounds you. Every move against you is recorded. Every word is weighed. And every action triggers consequences they can't escape. By the time the results hit, there's no undo button, no refund, no reset. Only the cost of colliding with something they should have respected. And here's the dangerous part, they don't even realize the weight of what they touched until the fallout swallows them whole. They thought betrayal was harmless. They thought envy was just emotion. They thought plotting against you was just a game. But they were wrong. Harming you is never harmless. Mishandling you is never casual. It always carries debt, and that debt always collects. That's why betrayal never works. That's why envy can't stop your rise. Because you weren't assembled by this world. You were assigned by a higher realm. You were sent with a cover. To mishandle you is to mishandle sacred ground. And the truth is, chosen one, you don't even have to fight the way others do. You don't have to clap back. You don't have to defend yourself. You don't have to prove a thing. The universe already ruled in your favor. So hear me clearly, coming against you isn't just reckless, it's self-destruction. They're not fighting you. They're fighting what protects you. And that's a battle they cannot win. Chosen one, lift your head. Walk with confidence. Because from this moment forward, remember their envy, their schemes, their whispers, all of it will collapse against the shield of your presence. You are untouchable, undeniable, and irreplaceable, and that's why they better be careful. Chosen one, let's bring this all together. If there's one truth you must carry from this moment forward, it's this: your presence is not a right, it is a privilege. Anyone who mishandles you will face the balance of the universe. That has been the message echoing through every part of your journey. What they treated casually, heaven marked as sacred. And when the sacred is dishonored, consequences always follow. You are not ordinary. You are not disposable. You are the proof that alignment is real, that resilience cannot be erased, that destiny always outlives deception. That's why the lies didn't last. That's why the traps didn't work. That's why you're still here when others expect you to be gone. Because you are living evidence that nothing against you can stand. So let me ask you, chosen one, how many times have people underestimated the privilege of being near you? How many treated you like casual access, only to realize later they were standing in a test? They failed. If you've seen that shift happen, where someone went from careless to cautious, from laughing at you to suddenly watching every word around you, then you know exactly what this message means. Now it's time to affirm it. Drop a comment below with the words "I am privileged." When you type that, you're not just writing letters on a screen, you're declaring to yourself and to everyone watching that your presence carries weight, that you are no longer downplaying what has already been stamped on you. And for those who feel this message deep, let the number 77 be your seal of agreement, your signal that you've received this truth and claimed the blessing attached to it. Chosen one, lift your head high. Walk in confidence. The whispers, the envy, the schemes, they collapse under the power of your presence. Nothing about you is ordinary. Everything about you is marked. And now more than ever, the world must know being in your presence is not entertainment, it's exposure. Not casual, but costly. not a right, but a rare privilege. So share this message with someone who needs the reminder. Let it echo beyond you, because the chosen rise and you are living proof.